Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where it's snowing. It's snowing money. How beautiful. It's a Thanksgiving miracle as the 2024 holiday season kicks off. Oh, hooray, Hollywood's making money angels. It's so exciting. Oh, they've been parched. Well, I don't know, Disney. Well, we're going to talk about it. There's so much to talk about. So yes, Moana Apocalypse actually ended up not being a monster storm that blew away the competition, but a rising tide that lifted all boats. Again, the spirit of togetherness, which is new for Hollywood. That's interesting. It is new for Hollywood. I mean, Wicked and Gladiator 2 not only rose, but Red won in Best Christmas Pageant Ever had drops under 5%. That's amazing! So you see, yes, Hollywood is usually a one movie at a time kind of town. One movie is the big buffo deal and, soaks up all the theatrical, all the money at the box office. But thanks to Barbenheimer, the one that started it all, Hollywood is beginning to go even beyond just mere counter-programming, but to create true groupings so that you have an event. Now, the cynical person could say, it takes 3 movies to equal one Endgame or No Way Home. And, that's true. But hey, those are far and few between. But groupings? You might be able to do 1 or even maybe 2 groupings a year. It's hard. We're going to talk about groupings. I'm fascinated about this new grouping situation, and I think Hollywood probably is too, because it's a group of money. But I just think this is very interesting. So Wicked and Gladiator, I feel like, it's so funny. A meteorologist, Bob Iger, started out as a meteorologist. Fun fact, that's where he got the beginning of his career, as a meteorologist at ABC. It's like when someone's a jungle cruise skipper at the parks and suddenly becomes like the head of one of their divisions. He went from weatherman to the head of everything. That's hilarious. But yeah. So Wicked and Gladiator created a perfect atmosphere. So everything was going really good with the two of them. But then Moana 2 came in, swooped in, and supercharged everybody. Just everybody. Basically in North America, because of the Thanksgiving holiday, it was a 5-day weekend. And Hollywood created another Barbenheimer-style party at the multiplex. But this time, and this is a new addition. Again, this is an evolving situation. You're seeing Hollywood history and formulas and strategy being born. They added a family film to the mix. Oh, big cloud in a chem lab. You're like, oh, eureka, that's amazing. So boy, talk about, that was just, before it was just the ladies versus the men, so to speak, with Barbenheimer. But now they're like, and now families? Going. It was incredible. Women largely went to see Moana 2 and Wicked. By the way, these demographics, the Moana 2 demos are from this weekend, and I'm going off of Wicked and Gladiator 2's demos from the previous weekend. They only report demos for a movie's opening weekend. But this is fascinating, all right? So Moana 2 and Wicked skewed female, and Gladiator 2 didn't skew as much male as those two went female, but yes, that one skewed more in the male direction. Now, with ethnicity demos, they didn't have any for Gladiator 2 for some strange reason. But interestingly, the reason that Moana 2 and Wicked can actually coexist, some people felt they couldn't, but look, they do not overlap in this area. Wicked skews heavily Caucasian, interestingly, while Moana 2 is clearly being strongly driven by Latino and Black audiences. So that's how those two movies are able to coexist. Isn't that interesting? All right, so what's more, there's a lot of gas left in the tank. While many box office records were broken this weekend and Hollywood boasted that 30 million tickets were sold to see all 3 of these movies over the long holiday weekend. But you know what? That's not even a 10th of the United States population, which just goes to show how few people actually go to the movies and theaters, which I always find really interesting since it seems like everyone's going, but no. So yes, that's actually a little small sliver of the pie. And so that's how some movies can be supercharged. You're like, how could Avatar make $2 billion? That's why. because so few of the population is actually mobilized. So the trick is to mobilize a little, not even a huge piece of the pie, but bigger than the sliver. So this is when a curiosity factor kicks in, and people who usually don't go to the theater go, boy, that movie's making a lot of money. Maybe I should check it out. That happened with Avatar. It also happened with Gravity. Both those films benefited from 3D technology, another reason that you have to go to the theater to see it. But in this case, it's, that helped those a little bit more. But I do think you're going to see people coming off the sidelines in the next week or so being like, let's see what all the fuss is about. Wicked continues to be a little soft overseas, yet it has several key markets still to go. I hope they kick in. So Moana 2, almost certain to get $1 billion at this point. Whoa, so it's so hot out of the gate. Nothing's guaranteed, but looking very strong. Wicked has a chance, I would say. I'm afraid I've had to downgrade it to a chance. And Gladiator 2, Gladiator 2 is just happy to be here. Although it was selling out showings, or coming close to selling out over the weekend. That means potentially all the billion-dollar movies for this year will be from the mouse, proving Bob Iger's sequel strategy is indeed where the real money is. But thank goodness for a non-sequel, non-Disney movie like Wicked to prove that new franchises from other studios can still exist. It is possible. To be fair, Wicked, one of the reasons that Wicked is so big is that it had, just like Disney, that's interesting, just like Disney Plus, it's just occurred to me while I was filming here right now, Disney Plus supercharged Moana 2. But Wicked was supercharged by its Broadway run for like 20 years, and it's also its touring companies all over the globe. So that just goes to show, that pregame, that's quite a lot of pregame, but I'm trying to think of a term, but that's very, very important. All right, so how did Disney do it? That's what everybody wants to know, from Disney to their competitors. All this cash, smashing all the Thanksgiving records, smashing them, smash, with what was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus series. I gotta tell you, it's a shame that got out. Obviously we were like, where did this Moana 2 come from? Oh, where did your Moana series go? They must be the same. But that really seemed to, I think, salt the earth for a lot of people, particularly critics and some pundits, who were like, oh, it's a Disney Plus series, blah, 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 blah. By the way, speaking of not, having a negative connotation towards something, there are rumors online that Disney Animation is not getting their usual feature bonuses. There's a bonus system for, I'm not sure if this is for all studios, but for both Disney and Pixar Animation, they get bonuses depending on the performance of their movies in the theatrical space. But much like the rumor about Wicked's pay discrepancy was not true, I'm hearing bonuses are in effect for Moana 2. Speaking of the internet, it tried very hard to kill Moana 2. Oh, it tried so hard to give it the acolyte treatment with online coverage. If you go onto YouTube, it's just nothing but hate videos. Poor Moana is crying and frowning and screaming. Oh, so why wasn't the takedown effective here? A couple of factors. I'll be curious to hear your own theories down below, but I think there are two big ones. There's a bunch of stuff, obviously, but I think two big ones are it's a sequel, and then also Disney brilliantly used Glicked as cover. They were like, don't mind us, sneak into theaters. So yes, Moana 2 is the sequel to Disney's most streamed movie ever and the most streamed movie overall in 2023. That means audiences love it and feel comfortable with it. And also, unlike Lightyear, this sequel gives audiences what they want. Disney did not change the tone like Pixar did. Then, as I said, under cover of Glicked, many of you, everybody was focusing on those two movies. Many of you, when I dropped my Moana 2 review, you were like, oh, I totally forgot this movie was even coming out. So people forgot to hate on it or didn't have time to hate on it. Add to that, Disney likely doing a very targeted ad campaign at families. Are you a family? Did you see Moana 2 ads? Did any of you see any Moana 2 ads, before the movie dropped? But also delaying that review embargo until the very last minute to make sure that the strong audience score went up as soon as possible to counter the very weak Rotten Tomatoes critic score It was a bold and, it turns out, effective strategy. Now, speaking of strategies, Disney for a while now has been following Netflix's strategy of making the review embargo for their streaming shows when the show actually drops. And at that point, people are already watching it. It's frustrating from a reviewer standpoint, but I understand it from the distributor standpoint. And now, after this, I wonder if Disney will continue to do the same for theatrical releases with this last-minute review embargo. Look how bad it was to drop their Joker 2 review embargo so much, because of the festival circuit. And so that there was like a month that bad score was up there. Here, it's just hours. I mean, this could be especially helpful for 2 upcoming Disney movies that are plagued by bad PR and buzz. I don't know if they're going to do it for every Disney movie, although I think the Moana 2 is a pretty good movie. I'm not quite sure why they thought it was going to be received as poorly as it was. Maybe they knew the Disney Plus thing, or the origin, would bother some people. I mean, the songs aren't great, but that's okay. I mean, sorry, I don't think all the songs are that great in Wicked, but it's still a great time at the movies. Also, again, and this cannot be stressed enough, Moana 2 did not change the script. Whereas a lot of recent sequels and IP films that have flopped significantly change the script, and they just assume that fans would come along for the ride again anyway. They did not. Are we finally going to move beyond the subverting expectations craze that has caused so many problems for Hollywood, a craze cemented by The Last Jedi? Also, as soon as Marvel moves past its Marvel Now phase, I've been saying this for years. I see some other people are finally starting to say it as well. That comics phase was a disaster with comic book fans, and what do you know? Not very popular in the MCU space either. But anyway, I think that Marvel will be in a better place as well. But some people, unfortunately, we know why, but they mistake moving away from those phases as moving away from diversity. But clearly, there is a lot of money in diverse storytelling. In fact, more money than ever. Look at Moana. Again, look at Moana 2's demos. I think the key is those stories need to be authentic and not pandering, which has been that's another phase that Hollywood is currently going through. They're trying a little too hard. They want it a little too bad. So I think, and also I think, we've had that discussion, not a monolith, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, look at Moana 2's demos and all that cash. Now in Hollywood, the next question not only is how did Disney do it, but how can we do it again? Yes, let's do it again. Now for Disney, it's even more clear that Disney Plus is not only a brand supporter, but a brand builder and even supercharger. Ka-ching! Frozen is obviously still very big, although not as big as Moana, it seems. But based on the streaming chart, Encanto, an Encanto sequel is clearly something that Disney should be fast-tracking, especially with the land coming to their Animal Kingdom theme park, and after that, probably other theme parks across the globe as well. Elemental? It's nice to see that movie so high up as well, so maybe there might be a sequel in store for that Pixar flick. And of course, Incredibles 3 will be massive. Oh, I'm excited! With the exception of Pixar's Elio and Hoppers, which I don't think are going to particularly do well, we'll see. But it's all sequels from Disney Animation and Pixar for the near future. And you can see why. Moana 3 should be announced pretty darn soon. I mean, I'm sure they're already talking about it, but when will they officially announce it? It could be any day. But they might not want to seem too greedy, and they might want to just be like, let's let people see this. Although I don't know, there has been that negative chatter. Maybe they want to be like, this train's going strong. I would probably announce Moana 3. I would announce it by the end of the year, for sure. We'll see. Can other studios duplicate Disney's success? Clearly, family films that have all ages appeal. We were just talking about this in my Moana 2 review. From little kids to grandparents are very profitable, particularly during the holidays, but at any time of year. Whenever families are getting together, whenever there's vacation, spring break, etc. It's also becoming clearer and clearer that Latino and Black moviegoers, particularly Latino moviegoers, are huge box office drivers. It was big for Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers really benefited from that diversity of appeal. And Universal, by the way, has the sequel also set for April 3rd, first weekend of April, 2026. And fascinatingly, Warner Brothers is trying to do the same kind of programming with Minecraft, grabbing that same weekend in 2025. That's so interesting to me. You can see them being like, well, it works so well for Super Mario Brothers, which is also based on a video game. Perhaps it can work for Minecraft as well. And what do you know? You guys liked that first full trailer a lot better than the teaser. Speaking of other movies, can Kraven, Sonic 3, and Mufasa also ride this wave? Hey, is there room for us on the surfboard? I think the goodwill towards going to the movies could help all three of them. I think for sure. I think for Kraven, it's a little far out. I still am pegging Kraven as like a Venom kind of performer, which would be great considering how badly Madam Web and Morbius did. But I think Sonic 3 looks by far the strongest of the group. Strong appeal. It's the third movie in the franchise. It has very strong appeal to hardcore fans. The Easter eggs in that movie are insane. I don't even play the Sonic games, but people are so excited about the Easter eggs. I see what they are because people are talking about them online. And then also casuals, I think are excited about. I think that when your hardcore fan base is excited, some casuals get excited. They're like, wow, those people are really excited about that movie. Maybe we should check it out. But I think Jim Carrey, don't underestimate how important he is to the success of the Sonic movies. And then also now Keanu Reeves. I think that goes a long way to making non-Sonic fans enjoy those films as well. Although, after Moana 2, and how well the first live-action Lion King did, never count out Disney. Mufasa might end up being very strong. Although I do suspect that Sonic will be the number one movie of that weekend. We'll see. What's your plans for that weekend? Although, obviously, all these movies are hoping to play through Christmas and New Year's. It sure is nice to see a lot of people going to the multiplex. 2 theaters. Oh, it's beautiful. It brings a tear to the eye. In fact, Black Friday was the second biggest single day at the movies of all time. Only topped by Endgame, which was also a pretty magical weekend at the movies. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing to be a part of. I was kind of a part of this weekend. I went to the movies again on Wednesday, but I went early in the day. It was very fun. It was great. Full theater. I saw Wicked again, so it was great. But for those of you, I'm going to ask you at the end, but I would love to know, were you a part of this event this weekend? What was it like? What was your theater experience like? Was it fun? Was it frustrating because it was too crowded? Did you get to see what you wanted to see? How many times did you go? Share your tales down below. Clearly, creating an event continues to be the key to success post-COVID. Could Moana 2 have made this kind of money on its own without Wicked and Gladiator 2? I think it would have done well, but I think Wicked and Gladiator 2 helped. I'd be interested to hear your theories on this as well. Those two movies have over 2.5-hour runtimes, which add to their feeling like big events, plus big lavish production values that make them seem like they're worth going to the theater for. And then I think a lot of people saw how much fun everyone was having with Wicked, and they were like, wow, everybody's having a good time. And then there comes Moana 2, which again is an all-ages family film, and they go, oh, we can be part of the fun too. Also, Moana 2 on the flip side is under 2 hours, and that fits in very well with holiday shopping and family plans. It does not take up a large chunk of your day. And so there's still a space for that type of movie as well. And then, of course, a lot of people did see Wicked again. The repeat watchability of Wicked continues to be insane, and really, I think, a big part of that film's success. And the film fell just 29% in its second weekend. That's incredible. That's amazing. And I know some Wicked fans are like, imagine how it would have done without Moana 2. I don't think maybe it would necessarily have done as well. I think it was the challenge with Moana 2. A lot of Wicked fans are like, we got to represent. I think all these movies, just like Barbie and Oppenheimer needed each other, I think all these movies really need each other. I really believe that. I'd be curious to, again, hear your thoughts. Wicked, though, desperately needs those overseas markets that are still to go to get even close to $1 billion. It has France, China, Germany, and Japan. Those are all big potential markets for Wicked. For instance, the first Frozen, which is based on Wicked, did $249 million in Japan alone. So that could be a very big boost for Wicked. Now that Moana 2 has proven not to be a threat, Wicked has no real competition coming up until Snow White, which I don't really think is going to be competition. But anyway, that's the next time you have a movie that appeals to this same audience. So, well, theoretically. It theoretically appeals to this same audience. But that's like forever. Wicked will not only be already on digital at that point and probably streaming, but it might have a couple of Oscars by March 2025. Oh, this is exciting. Will Wicked be a big Oscar winner? Some worry that it might have a Barbie scenario where it just doesn't get the respect it deserves during awards season. And I think that only John M. Chu is going to get the Greta Gerwig treatment. I don't see a lot of nominations for him personally, but I suspect that both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande will be nominated for lead and supporting respectively, and one of them might even win. I think there's a very good chance that one of them could even win. So that's going to be very exciting for that movie and its fandom. By the way, while Wicked admitted to modeling its ad campaign off of Barbie, there's more misinformation out there, with some claiming that Universal spent $350 million on advertising. They did not. That is the value of their promotional partnerships, where a large part of those deals is getting to be associated with Wicked. So I'm sure there's a little bit of money exchange, but the idea is that all of Wicked's super fans go to Target, Starbucks, etc. to get that merch, which acts as further advertising for Wicked and helps it seem like, again, that big event. But that's what the deal is. It's not an ad buy. It's, again, more of a partnership where both sides benefit by the association. Wicked will definitely make money, and it will definitely be nominated for awards. But how close it gets to $1 billion, if to $1 billion actually, and if it wins awards, is what remains to be seen. And as I said, Gladiator 2 is just happy to be here. It's like, don't pay too much attention to me. Because this is not that great a movie. It's like, yeah, we're in here too. We're the guy option. Oh, yeah, manly men. Come see us. We're the Oppenheimer of this situation. And you're like, not really. But they're like, shh. All right, so it's not the Oppenheimer of the group, but it does give a number of guys a way to participate in this movie-going event. Not even just guys, because as you can see, women are going to see Gladiator 2 as well. It just gives a different flavor. You know, you're like, let's keep this party going. Let's go see Gladiator 2. That's a little different. That's fun. Barbenheimer turned into Oppenheimer versus Barbie, particularly from male fans that were disgusted that Barbie was riding Nolan's coattails. How dare they? And that Barbie even existed at all because of its messaging. But interestingly, this time, it's Wicked fans versus Moana, who don't want the Disney flick to hurt their film's chances of success and take away its screens. These internet feuds, as always, tend to be one-sided. Nobody's fighting about Gladiator 2, though, because ain't nobody talking about Gladiator 2. They're seeing it, though, with the film falling just 44% in its second weekend, although the film is doing far better overseas. And while the first film was a huge Oscar winner, Best Picture included, I wouldn't expect the sequel to register at all, really, for awards. It's weak. Even in production design and visual effects, there are much better films. So yes, I think a lot of Gladiator 2's flaws are thankfully being overlooked. Well, thankful for that film. You know what? And thankfully for the business overall. We want to see films succeed, as it's part of a fun major event. And also, everyone's talking about Wicked and now Moana 2. Again, and Gladiator 2 is very happy about all that. They're like, yes, please. Are there any big events on the horizon for 2025? Well, fascinatingly, Paddington 3 just moved to the same holiday weekend as Captain America Brave New World. I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. Let's see how that works out. That is a family film, but there's no Barbie Wicked in that mix. There's Mission Impossible versus Lilo and Stitch for Memorial Day weekend. July is stacked with Jurassic World 4, Superman, and then Fantastic Four. That could be something, but I don't know if it'll work with them spread out like that. They're successive weekends instead of all at once. And then also Wicked 2 has The Running Man and then Zootopia 2, but it doesn't seem quite the same. But don't be surprised if in the next couple of months you see a little bit of a release schedule shuffle as Hollywood does try to see if they can recreate this for a third time. Once you were like, oh, it's lightning in a bottle. Twice you're like, we might actually have something here. And so we'll see if they can go for a third. I think they can. It's all about finding the right combination. Now, it seems to be that this starts when a female-centric blockbuster gloms on to a male-centric blockbuster, prestige blockbuster that already has its release date set. And the female-centric blockbuster goes, what's going on over here? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And the male-centric blockbuster goes, get away from me. But now they'll be like, oh, yes, come over here. Come over here, please. But there aren't any male-centric prestige blockbusters in 2025. All I can spot are potentially Mission Impossible, although the last one was such a dud at the box office because of Barbenheimer. That couldn't join the party because I think it was too similar. Again, this weekend you have three, they all go after different audiences. The audiences, they're all a very different flavor. F1, maybe, right? And then maybe Superman, maybe. But again, it has to be a prestige male-centric blockbuster. I don't really see an Oppenheimer Gladiator 2 style movie in the lineup for 2025. Do you? Go take a gander and let me know if you spot one. All right, so as for the rest of the top 10, again, Red 1 held up so well. Now I'm not sure when Amazon's going to put it on their streaming service. Like at this rate, with no big releases this coming weekend, they might wait until the very last minute to drop it on streaming for Christmas. I mean, again, I don't think they're going to sit on it for a year, but it could drop like the week of Christmas or like the week right before. And Dwayne Johnson's PR company got a nice headline out of all this over the weekend, getting Deadline to spotlight how The Rock has had 2 #1 movies in November, thank you very much. Still hustling. You got to respect it. But yes, with the Christmas season officially begun in the United States post-Thanksgiving, both Red 1 and The Best Christmas Pageant Ever did very well in theaters. The bottom half of the top 10, a little rougher. Venom is also making almost all of its money overseas, but a lot, while A Real Pain is once again the only awards contender to be able to still place, but just barely. Queer opened in just 7 theaters with a pretty meh per theater average. I mean, it's okay, but it's not a hot movie anymore. And that Rotten Tomatoes critic score, I think its awards chances are dwindling pretty fast, which must be why Luca Guadagnino is so desperate to land himself a comic book movie before it just totally peters out. Queer totally loses all its momentum. He's in talks for Sergeant Rock, but he hasn't signed a deal, and apparently he'd rather do a Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield. Wouldn't we all rather do that? Or he'd rather do that. Over on streaming, the folks at Nielsen must be having a real nice holiday weekend because they didn't bother to update their numbers. What? I continue to be amazed at the company they're running over there. But that's fine. That's fine. We'll wait. I want to see how Agatha did with its 2-part finale. But hopefully they'll drop those numbers early this week and we'll be able to discuss them on a live stream because they usually tend to update and then go right to the next week after that so they're caught up. But there's not like an intern over there that can just go click. All right, so with Netflix for just last week, sexy Christmas movies are where it's at, with both The Merry Gentleman and Hot Frosty topping the movies chart, while new animated film Spellbound came in third. Remember, this is where John Lasseter landed, making animated movies for Skydance and Netflix. It would seem that he was not the magic ingredient over at Pixar. All right, because you're not like, who's making these movies? You're just like, okay. All right, by the way, Skydance is part of David Ellison's company, the guy who just bought Paramount. All right, so with shows, nothing too exciting over here. Weak numbers for Ted Danson's new comedy, and my goodness, Arcane Season 2, 3 weeks out, was never able to grab the #1 spot, even against very weak competition. It's been in second place since it debuted. I fear for Blue Eye Samurai Season 2, because extremely long delays between seasons has seriously hurt Invincible, Blood of Zeus, and now Arcane. Oh, those are amazing animated shows. Remember we thought animation was becoming a thing with Western audiences? Turns out it's not! All right, so on digital over on Apple, I am thrilled that Conclave has been #1 since it dropped on Tuesday. I was so nervous. I was watching it every day. I was like, please stay #1 for Sunday. Please stay #1. It did. It is so rewarding to see a smaller film get such huge traction on digital against all these big blockbusters. Let's hope this further helps Conclave's already strong awards chances. And The Substance is also doing very well. Just like Moana 2, Wicked, and Gladiator are very exciting in the theatrical space right now, this right here is very exciting for the mid-range movie. That's great. Great news. Great news. And is it good or bad that Anthony Mackie is getting a lot of exposure with whatever the heck this Elevation movie is right before Cap 4? But people are watching it. Plus, as I said with Sonic 3, Jim Carrey is a big part of that franchise's success. And yes, the Grinch, his Grinch, is still way up at the top of the top 10. And that's got to be good for Sonic. People are in a Jim Carrey kind of mood. As for this coming week, as always, Hollywood historically never sets any big movies for the weekend after Thanksgiving because they drop a lot of big stuff for Turkey Day and they want to give it room to breathe. So expect Moana 2, Wicked, and Gladiator 2 to keep raking in the cash at least, probably for much longer, but at least for one more weekend. A24, though, will again try a slightly more commercial film with Y2K from SNL's Kyle Mooney, although it's tough to be a Rachel Zegler movie, particularly these days. Amy Adams' new movie and The Order are opening in limited release as awards plays, but neither has been really gaining much or getting much traction. You know, The Order had a lot of buzz on the festival circuit, but it just never materialized for some reason. It only ended up going to Vertical Entertainment. You know, that movie had buzz, but it just faded away very quickly. On digital Tuesday, Clint Eastwood's Juror Number 2 hits. It's a small movie, but I found it surprisingly compelling, especially on digital. That's another win for the mid-range movie. I think that's worth watching. A very interesting moral quandary. And I was surprised at how the movie was willing to go there. I thought it was very interesting. While on streaming, Netflix has 2 new movies this coming week. Animated That Christmas from Love Actually's Richard Curtis on Wednesday, and then on Friday, Mary. From DJ Caruso, by the way. Remember DJ Caruso? All right, for the director, as for shows, Disney's Skeleton Crew drops the first 2 episodes tomorrow. Wednesday is the Rockefeller tree lighting ceremony on NBC, followed by Jimmy Fallon's new holiday special to celebrate his new holiday album. I actually got that album. It's pretty good, and I'm very much looking forward to that holiday special. You know, Jimmy Fallon is like Moana 2. Everyone tries to hate on him, but he still does big numbers. At the end of the day, nobody seems to care. Then on Thursday, Netflix has Keira Knightley's new series, Black Doves. Also, Ben Whishaw is in that. Big Ben Whishaw fan. He's the voice of Paddington. And then James Gunn, and also Q from Daniel Craig's Bond movies. And James Gunn kicks off his DC universe with the first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos. While finally on Saturday, speaking of the holidays, Sabrina Carpenter has her Christmas special on Netflix. And that's this week's movie math. What have you been watching? Well, it's probably one of those 3 movies. Or was it not? What do you plan to watch? And again, did you experience Moana Apocalypse? How was it? How was it being in the eye of the storm? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.